What is up, fellas, and welcome to the second episode of How to Save America with the Goob. I'm going to be breaking down what I talked about last week, providing a bit of a more in-depth explanation because I know it was pretty blunt, right? I just kind of cut straight to the chase. I didn't really break it down at all, and it was probably confusing and maybe even shocking to some of you. So before I get into the action steps that need to be taken, I just want to clarify a few things, right? Charlie Kirk had over 4,000 hours of footage recorded of him and posted online. Most of that is him interacting with people who hate him, people who want him dead, who are shouting at him, who are trying to physically harm him. And there is not one single clip amongst those 4,000 plus hours of Charlie reacting with hatred or anger. He always met everyone with love and compassion and understanding and telling them the truth, right? He was the closest thing to Jesus Christ that certainly I've ever seen in my lifetime. And that is the man that they assassinated. They celebrated his death and they called for the death of his infant children. Make no mistake that these people want you dead. The majority of blacks, the majority of Muslims, the majority of Jews, the majority of Democrats, or whatever you want to call them, liberals, commies, leftists, it's all the same thing. It is not hyperbole when I say that these people want you dead. And when I tell you that there's no sticking your head down, there's no just trying to fly under the radar, they want you and your children dead too. Charlie Kirk, the most Christ-like figure of our age, is the man that they killed, celebrated his death, and called for the death of his children. They want you dead too. There is no avoiding this, right? This is why we must stop being afraid, because they're coming for you either way. Sticking your head down is not going to work, right? And I think some people are getting hung up on when I say they want you dead, right? I'm sure there's someone out there going, oh, Goob, you're so hysterical. I sit next to a Democrat black dude every day and he's not killed me yet. I want $1 million. I haven't gone out and robbed a bank though, but I'd sure as shit be happy as hell if someone gave me $1 million. And these people will be happy when you and your children are dead. And any time that they have any type of power or influence or ability to shift things towards making you and your children dead, they will take that. They will use that. These people want you dead. And, there's still some people who think that we shouldn't be fighting back. We need to turn down the temperature, right? You need to understand that over the last 20 years, the left has consistently gotten crazier and more radical, more extreme, more insane, more violent. And if you were to plot this on a graph, right, it's not just like a line going up. It's a fucking hockey stick. It's like money printer go burr type shit, right? They are at an accelerating rate, getting more insane, more violent, more extreme. And as this has happened, if you also plot, leftist control over our institutions and leftist influence over our culture and our population, it's the same line. The crazier they get, the more influence they gain. And that probably seems backwards to some of you, but that's because it's all about power dynamics, and I'll be breaking that down in a little bit. Okay, but the left is not magically going to come back to sanity. They are not going to stop. They are going to get worse and worse and worse, and at a faster and faster rate, unless they are stopped, unless something stops them, right? The very first prediction I made when I saw Charlie Kirk get assassinated was a very dark one. It was that we are about to see far more leftist violence, more extreme violence, more frequent violence. And we're already seeing that. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse at a faster and faster rate unless something stops them. We live in a free society, for the most part, at least. A I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take a step back. I'm sorry, fellas. It's a hard topic to talk about, and I'm used to talking about old rocks, so forgive me. But I don't know what's going on in my brain. The next step in my argument is blanking right now, and I have the other arguments in my head, but I had a specific order that I wanted to follow. All right, whatever. The average person only understands power dynamics, right? As I was talking about how the left keeps getting crazier, they keep gaining more control. That is because the average person is only concerned with getting home from work without getting punched in the face or yelled at, right? They're not planning a better future for themselves or their grandchildren. The majority of people can't even plan a better future for themselves. That's why the majority of Americans are obese. The only thing they understand is power dynamics, and the only thing they care about is getting home from work that day without getting in a fight. And everyone inherently understands that the left is violent, the left is radical. They understand that when they see that tranny on the street, they will fight them, they will attack them, right? So they just say, "You're brave and beautiful." And they don't think about tomorrow. A normal, rational person like ourselves, they see that and they go, "Oh, if we encourage that, it might get worse, and that might be bad for all of us," right? They don't think like that, right? Think about the thousands of videos of street preachers, of Change My Mind, of people just wearing MAGA hats and being attacked by these insane leftists and trannies. How do those people on the right respond every single time? They refuse to defend themselves. They do the bare minimum to keep themselves from sustaining injury. They never beat the shit out of the person, and they usually don't even press charges afterwards. You see that, and you see an insane person attacking someone speaking truth or just being patriotic. And then you see someone with incredible restraint, so elevated over the insane person that is attacking them. But that is not what the average person sees. The average obese American views that, and they see righteous fury. Someone is angry enough to attack that person, so they must be right. They must have a good reason to attack that person. And then that person refuses to defend themselves. That only further validates how evil that person must be, how much they must know that they are evil and in the wrong. They understand that on their walk home from work, it is safer to stand next to the tranny and yell at the person on the right who's saying that men can't be women or that God loves you or just wearing a MAGA hat, because they understand the right is not going to punch them in the face, but the left will. So that's what's safer for them on their walk home. That is what the average American understands. And that is why we must take back control of the power dynamics in this country, right? We watched the country burn, and with BLM, there was so much support for BLM. That was probably confusing to some of you. Again, it's because all they understand is power dynamics. The average obese American watches that and they go, "Wow, look at how angry they are. They're burning down the country. That must mean that George Floyd's death truly was the worst and most evil thing that could ever happen." That is how the average American operates. And so we must take back these power dynamics. And the way we do so is what I was talking about last week. One, you need to be unrelentingly patriotic. You need to be visibly patriotic. Fly an American flag at your house, fly one on your car, wear it on your shirt, right? The reason that the left is able to be so violent and so insane is because they have been playing whack-a-mole with the right. Every time someone pops up, they whack them down and they beat us into submission. And we're afraid to speak the truth. We're afraid to be patriotic. We have allowed the American flag to become an extremist symbol in our own country. Think about that for a second. Everyone understands that if you fly an American flag on your house might be vandalized. If you wear an American flag on your person, you might be shot in the face, and you're probably going to be attacked, at least in certain parts of the country, right? And they're able to do that because they've been able to make us afraid But if we stand up and we overwhelm them with patriotism, we show force by being present, by being visible. Imagine leftists walking out of their house and every other house on their block has an American flag on it. You think they're going to attack every fucking one of their neighbors? No, they will be the ones who will be afraid. We must be unrelentingly patriotic. And then when they do attack you for your patriotism, you must meet their violence with more brutal violence. This isn't, about revenge. This isn't about anger or hatred. This is about doing what is necessary. This is the least amount of work that can be done that will still yield results. The normie must see that you are willing to defend yourself and you are willing to beat the shit out of these demons when they get violent with you. That is what the normie understands. Be patriotic. Show, how many people went to work after Charlie Kirk's assassination and they sat there silently as they listened to their coworkers revel in his death and call for the deaths of his children. Now imagine you go into work and half your coworkers are wearing American flags. You think that they're going to be as, comfortable saying those things, right? And when they do say those things, you must confront them. You must confront them. We must stop being silent. We must stop being afraid. And remember, they killed Charlie Kirk. They killed Jesus fucking Christ, basically. They will kill you too. They will come for you too. So step number one, be unrelentingly patriotic, be visibly patriotic. Buy your friends. Hey, if you've got a little extra cash, buy them some Turning Point USA merch. Buy them a MAGA hat. Buy them a flag for their house. If you're too afraid to fly this yourself, at least go knock on your neighbors' doors who are flying them. Go make friends with them and thank them for their bravery. We need to encourage more patriotism. We need it to be visible. We need it to be present at all times. The second step is that we must stop being afraid of their labels. Again, they killed Charlie Kirk, the best amongst us. There is not a single person amongst us who is a better Christian, a better person than Charlie Kirk was. You might disagree with his politics, and that's fine. But he was objectively the best amongst us, and that is who they killed and celebrated and called for the deaths of his children. You have to stop being afraid of their labels because they're going to label you anyways. They're going to kill you anyways, right? I don't know about you guys. I've been called racist and a Nazi hundreds of times in my life. And I'm not just talking about the abstract, like the thousands of articles written by the Jews, right? I'm not talking about every black person going, all white people are racist. I mean directly to my face. It doesn't matter how you act. It doesn't matter what you say. You will be labeled and you will be killed. So you need to stop being afraid of those labels. The only way that we take back control and take back these power dynamics is you must be totally unfazed by them calling you racist. You must laugh in their faces. It was the point I was making when I said, Sieg Heil, nigger, right? When they call you racist, it doesn't matter what you do. You're already a Nazi who deserves to die in their eyes. Charlie Kirk was a Nazi who deserved to die in their eyes. We cannot be afraid of their labels. The third step is that we must bully the freaks, right? And again, this probably sounds shocking to some of you. Oh, Goob, that's so extreme. You want to bully freaks? No. A free society cannot exist without bullying freaks. It both definitionally and practically literally is impossible without bullying freaks. And let me break this down for you, right? A free society, free meaning that the government does not police the culture, right? North Korea, you're allowed to get like 18 haircuts. You choose between, one of pre-selected haircuts. That is the government policing culture. That's not America. We live in America. Now, the left has policed culture with the government, and they will continue to if they're able to, right? But that's a separate argument. So if the government cannot police the culture, you must police the culture. The people must police the culture. And you do that through bullying freaks, because society means that there is a cohesive culture. There is unity and commonality within the culture. And the only way to maintain that is by bullying freaks. And the left has been doing this, right? So In America, you are free to become as much of a freak as you want to be. If you want to chop off your ears and chop off your nose and tattoo your eyeballs and implant horns all over your face, you're free to do that. No one is stopping you. But you're never going to be someone's lawyer. You're never going to be someone's doctor. Good luck getting a job at fucking McDonald's if you choose to make yourself a freak like that, right? And that is the way it needs to be. But what we have done in America is we have celebrated the freaks. We worship the freaks and we encourage them to be freaks and encourage more people to become freaks. And we have foisted the burden of being a freak off of the shoulders of the freaks and onto the entirety of our society. And our society cannot bear that weight. Right? I was talking about like the power of the tranny walking the street, and it probably sounded real fucking strange. Probably sounded pretty funny and fucking strange, but it's a very important point, right? We now have tranny lawyers, tranny doctors, tranny generals. We have dudes. Imagine walking into your doctor's office and you see a dude with hairy fucking tits, and you're not allowed to say anything about it other than how brave and beautiful they are. That is the society that we are living under. They have foisted the burden of being a freak onto the shoulders of everyone else. They have treated normal and good Americans as if we are the freaks. You wear an American flag on your person, they shoot you in the fucking face. They punch you in the face. They yell at you. They are bullying the normal, good, decent Americans as if they are freaks. And it has been effective. They have gained more and more power and more control. We must bully the freaks. It's not about revenge. It's not about hatred. It's about what must be done. And I highlight specifically the tranny freaks. We need to be bullying all freaks. If you've got a fucking nose ring and half your head shaved and 4 different colors in your hair still, that person needs to be bullied, right? But again, I'm trying to provide the least amount of effort, right? I'm trying to simplify this and streamline this down to the barest of bones, minimum things that we can do to actually make a change and save this country. And that is why we must focus on the trannies first. They are one, you see these dudes with lipstick applied outside of their lips, a shitty wig, and literally hair coming out of their dresses. They are severely mentally ill, and we are accepting them not only in our society, but elevating them to the highest positions of our society. That is the equivalent. The tranny is the human embodiment of the left. It is the left manifested in human form. Having a tranny lawyer is the left-wing equivalent of someone cosplaying as Hitler, the mustache, the hair, the outfit, all of it. Imagine walking into a courtroom and your lawyer is literally Hitler. That is the comparison. That is the parallel for the left having tranny lawyers. Like, that is the equivalent. They have driven this society so insane that we have come to accept that. Can you ever imagine, right? Society accept, and not only is your doctor Hitler, but you're only ever allowed to tell Dr. Hitler how brave and beautiful he is. That is how far insane they have pushed this country, and we must take it back. We must bring sanity back to this country. We must bully the freaks. So I don't know. Have I used this? Have I explained this thoroughly enough? Like, people need to wake up to the reality that we are living in. Cowering is not going to save us, right? The left will continue to get worse if they are not stood up against. They will continue picking us off one by one and driving this country further and further down the path of insanity. And I don't understand how people don't get this, because I understood this at 13 years old. 19 years ago, when I was 13, I pulled my brother aside for a conversation. He's 10 years older than me, so he was 23 at the time. And I told him point blank that if we continue down this path of political correctness, it will lead to the complete and total destruction of America. Telling people that they cannot say retard, allowing the weakest and whiniest amongst us to wield tyrannical power and control over all of the rest of us inevitably leads to where we are at now. There's a very straight line between telling people that they can't say retard and Charlie Kirk being assassinated. Look at the UK, right? Look at what is happening over there right now. Thousands of young girls are raped by Muslims. And what does the UK police do? They defend, they actively protect the rapists. And if one of these girls manages to survive and escape, they're pimping and they're raping, and they dare criticize or insult the Muslims, they are the ones that are arrested. And they are forced to apologize to their rapists. We are not that far behind the UK. Things will get worse if we do not stand up and fight back. And this is all downstream from telling people that they can't say retard. We must be able to call our friends retarded nigger faggots or our enemies retarded nigger faggots freely again. There is no way for us to solve the existential threats that are facing our country unless we can talk about them freely. How do you expect to address the Muslim menace when we can't even say retard? We must take back control of the power dynamics. We must stop being afraid. We must speak freely and boldly and bravely. We need to be gay for the USA, wear your merch, display the flags, and bully the freaks. You know, if you don't get it by now, you're probably not going to get it. So you need to find the people that do get it. If 10% of the population followed what I am suggesting here, the rebound in this country you would get so fucking bad whiplash, your neck would break, right? It is actually much easier to take back control than you realize, but people must be brave and they must actually take action. You know, and for anyone who's out there thinking, no, we need to turn down the temperature, we need to trust the government. Big Daddy government will swoop in and save us. No, they won't. And let me be very clear. If that's what your thought process is, you are more delusional and more retarded than anyone on the left who thinks Charlie Kirk deserved to die. That is never going to happen. The government is not going to save you, right? The media is owned by the Jews and leftists. They're not going to be your saviors. You're not going to have them fight on your side. The internet is also heavily controlled by Jews and leftists. You can't even say tranny on Twitter, the free space platform, the free speech platform, right? Without being censored. We need to be active in the real world. We need the normies to see that we are willing to meet their violence with more brutal violence, the left's violence with more brutal violence. We need them to understand that they need not be afraid of the tranny who's going to scream at them and punch them in the face. That we control the power dynamics. We take back the country in the real world, in your offices, in the streets, in the stores. The government's not going to save you. It will get worse unless you take action. So, yeah, I don't know. I could go on about other countries, you know, how there's over 100 rapes a day in France, how half of them are children. I could keep trying to hammer these points in and get people to understand just how bad it is and how we need to stand up and fight back now. For the accelerationists, I'll make one last point before I end the video. For all the accelerationists out there who are almost equally as retarded as the people who think the government will save them, this is the moment. This is the moment that you've been accelerating towards, right? First of all, acceleration doesn't work. Allowing your enemy to gain more power, become more entrenched, to gain more ground, to pick off your allies one by one. That's not how you win a war. You're retarded, okay? But if that is your thought process, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Charlie Kirk's assassination and the reaction to it, that is what you have been waiting for this entire time. So if you're an accelerationist, either stand up and fight back now, or admit to yourself and admit to the world that you are nothing but a beyond words, cowardly, pathetic little pussy. So be patriotic, be unafraid of their labels, be unafraid to speak the truth, be unafraid to call your friends retarded nigger faggots, and bully the freaks. We must bully the freaks, and we must bully them brutally, and not like the left, not shoot them in the face. Honesty is often brutal. Go tell a dude in a dress that he'll never be a woman, that he is a disgusting freak. That's pretty fucking brutal to them. They will have a meltdown and they will attack you. And then you need to beat the shit out of them. You need to meet their violence with more brutal violence. Not because it's fun to beat up trannies, not because you hate them, although I do. It's perfectly okay to hate them. But that's not what this is about. This is about what is necessary. It's about what is necessary, what must be done to take back control of this country and bring sanity back to our population. So with that, I sign out. Thank you for tuning in. Share this video. If you agree with what I'm saying, share this message. Help share this message. People need to wake up and they need to take action now. If we don't take action now, we never will. Follow things to their logical conclusion. The logical conclusion of not being able to say retard is where we're at now and where the UK is. It gets even worse, right? It gets far worse than this if we don't act. If we don't act now, the logical conclusion is that we never will. If this was not enough of a wake-up call for you, if BLM, if COVID, if a stolen election, and Charlie Kirk's assassination is not enough to wake you up, then it never will. We will never take action. We must act now, or else this country is gone. It's that simple. So, peace out, fellas. Stay brave, stay patriotic, and bully the freaks.